Hello, my name is Nishat Noor and welcome to Millennium Headlines. This week's top headlines are: Malaysia and Bangladesh should strengthen bilateral ties. President Obama's weekly address, ensuring Americans feel the gains of a growing economy. In an unpredictable New York protest, organized criticism of police. Liberia bans election rallies to fight Ebola. Secretary General expresses optimism about climate change. Mandela is remembered on death anniversary. Typhoon lashes Philippines amid fears of a repeat of last year's devastation. Now the details to this week's top headlines. Demonstrators marched around Manhattan in response to a grand jury's decision not to indict a police officer in the death of Eric Garner. The passion of the protesters is personal. And what happened to Eric Garner, a black man who died after a confrontation with the police, they see all that is wrong with the justice system they and many others consider deeply unfair.
The passion of the protesters is personal. In what happened to Eric Garner, a black man who died after a confrontation with the police, they see all that is wrong with the justice system they and many others consider deeply unfair. When they chant, "I can't breathe," they are not just repeating Mr. Garner's dying words, but giving voice to a sense of powerlessness. In the city last Friday, hundreds of protesters roamed Manhattan for the third straight night. They stopped at the Apple Store on Fifth Avenue, Macy's in Herald Square, Grand Central Terminal, and the Christmas tree in Bryant Park.
Families are going south to the tunnel, so I think there's just a little confusion about which direction it's starting, but we're all here for the same cause, you know what I mean?
Body cams, that's just a proverbial carrot being dangled, okay? We saw what happened. Everyone with their own two eyes saw exactly what happened with Eric Garner, and still no indictment. These cops get to go with complete impunity. So guess what needs to occur? We actually need to sit down with stakeholders. How about getting police commissioners from all across the country sitting down together to hear us out?
I can't breathe! Wait! I can't breathe! Wait! I can't breathe! Wait! I can't breathe! 1 minute! 1 minute! I can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't breathe! Hey! Let's go!
Mr. Obama, we have a black president in 2014, and we're still going through the same thing. Slavery is over, but it seems like we're still living. It's a different day of lynching, and we need to stand up. You need to make changes. These officers can't keep getting away with murder.
Who streets? Who streets? Who streets? In honor of Eric Garner. We will now have a die-in or a sit-in. Whatever works for you.
I can't breathe! I can't breathe! Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up, don't shoot!
People are not happy about what's going on in the city. Police, although they are trying to do their work, but they could use some kind of training as to how to better the system, so we all can live very comfortably without trampling on each other.
It seems to be dispersing now, and no one got hurt, and everybody just went home. So I guess it was a success.
President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf last Thursday banned all rallies and other mass gatherings in Monrovia before the senatorial election scheduled in less than 2 weeks, asserting that they risked worsening the spread of the Ebola outbreak. It was a death long foretold that drew mourners from his own nation and across the globe. But on Friday, 1 year after Nelson Mandela died, it almost seemed as if those he inspired were questioning to rediscover his message of probity and reconciliation in a society with new troubles.
It will forever remain an accusation and a challenge to all men and women of conscience that it took as long as it has before all of us stood up to say enough is enough.
Kept on fighting for us. That's why now we're having a freedom now to live.
We should celebrate every day things like what Mandela did. He forgave his enemies after being in jail for so many years, and he was able to forgive, and he was able to reconcile and create a nation like unity.
The United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said Thursday that he was optimistic that progress on curbing greenhouse gas emissions would be made at a conference in Lima, Peru, where delegates from more than 190 countries have begun working on a new agreement to contain global warming.
Next year is an opportunity to take big steps, transformative steps in the right direction. We must do all it takes to provide hope for people and the planet.
Mr. Ban told reporters at the United Nations he was heartened by the recent commitments to curb the use of fossil fuels by the United States, China, and the European Union. Mr. Ban, who will attend the conference next week, said the pledges were encouraging developments and gave him hope that a draft text of a deal could be adopted next year at a climate summit meeting in Paris. Typhoon Hagupit began battering the Philippines late Saturday, with strong winds and rain expected to pummel a central belt of the island nation for days as the storm turns westward.
Waves and wind pummeled coastal communities as Typhoon Hagupit battered the central Philippines. The storm lived up to its name. Hagupit loosely translates from Filipino as smash. There were very strong winds last night. This shelter resident said the roof was moving. Peak winds of up to 100 miles an hour ripped tin roofs off homes, knocked out power, and toppled trees. Heavy rains flooded the streets of Tacloban. But this storm is far less deadly than last year's Typhoon Haiyan, the monster storm that killed more than 6,000 people. Hard lessons from Haiyan prompted the government to launch massive preparations this time around. Nearly 900,000 people fled to safer ground and emergency shelters. Aid agencies said that likely helped save lives. Hagupit is weakening significantly, with top sustained winds dropping to 87 miles an hour. Still, residents of the capital, Manila, are now bracing for its arrival Monday.
In this week's address, the president highlighted the good news of last Friday's jobs report, that American businesses added 314,000 new jobs this past month, making November the 10th month in a row that the private sector had added at least 200,000 new jobs.
Hi everybody. Just in time for the holiday season, we now have another piece of good news about the pace of our economic recovery. Last month, our businesses created 314,000 new jobs. And that's not a fluke. It keeps up the solid pace of job creation we've seen all year long. November was the 10th month in a row we've added more than 200,000 jobs. So far this year, our economy has created 2.65 million new jobs. That's the most of any year since the 1990s, even with a full month to go. All told, our businesses have created 10.9 million new jobs over the past 57 months, and that's the longest streak of private sector job growth on record. We also know that the upswing in job growth this year has come in industries with higher wages. Overall wages are on the rise, and that's some very welcome news for millions of hardworking Americans. Because even though corporate profits and the stock market have hit all-time highs, the typical family isn't bringing home more than they did 15 years ago. And that still has to change. And a vibrant jobs market gives us the opportunity to keep up this progress and begin to undo that decades-long middle-class squeeze. But first, we need the outgoing Congress to pass a budget and keep our government open. A Christmas shutdown is not a good idea. Then, when the new Congress convenes in January, we need to work together to invest in the things that support faster growth in higher-paying jobs. Building new roads and bridges creates jobs. Growing our exports creates jobs. Reforming our outdated tax system and our broken immigration system creates jobs. Raising the minimum wage would benefit nearly 28 million American workers, giving them more money to spend at local businesses, and that helps those businesses create jobs. America, we still have a lot of work to do together, but we do have real, tangible evidence of our progress. 10.9 million new jobs, 10 million more Americans with health insurance, manufacturing has grown, our deficits have shrunk, our dependence on foreign oil is down, clean energy is up, more young Americans are graduating from high school and earning college degrees than ever before. Over the last 4 years, this country has put more people back to work than Europe, Japan, and every advanced economy combined. The United States of America continues to outperform much of the world, and we're going to keep it up until every American feels the gains of a growing economy where it matters most, in your lives. Thanks, and have a great weekend.
Malaysia and Bangladesh will further strengthen their bilateral ties through greater cooperation in various economic sectors.
Prime Minister Najib Razak has said to reporters that I welcomed my counterpart from Bangladesh. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina argued today. In our four-eyed and delegations meetings after, we discussed at length the existing relations between our two countries. We identified several areas in which bilateral cooperation could be enhanced, notably power and energy, as well as human resources development. I believe that bilateral ties between Malaysia and Bangladesh will be further strengthened in the foreseeable future.
Thank you for watching Millennium Headlines, and we'll see you next week.